Om Gam Ganapate Namaha. Kaliyugada Kalpataru. Fourth Delight. Sri Vyasa Yati Sarvabhouma. Chapter 55. The Eminent Poet Somnatha and His Grace. Somnatha was a distinguished poet who lived in the first half of the 16th century. Despite being a Smarta Brahmin and a follower of Advaita philosophy, he possessed immense devotion to Lord Srihari. Without harboring any sectarian prejudice, he held in high regard the three principal spiritual traditions of India, along with their acharyas, spiritual lineage, and followers. Somnatha was also known for his discerning qualities, generosity, and noble conduct. He was a beloved figure among scholars and deeply devoted to the wise. Somnatha's lineage tracks back to the noble ancestors. His great-grandfather was Yajavara Bhattabhaskara, a renowned scholar and teacher who mentored numerous disciples. His great-grandfather, Devaraja Somavithi, also referred to as the first Somnatha, was also a distinguished scholar and poet. Bhattagaya Mukti Bhaskara, the son of Devaraja Somavithi, excelled in various scriptures, authored several notable works, and earned fame for his erudition. He resided in Govindaraja Puragraha near Kanchipuram in the Tundira region. Bhattagaya Mukti Bhaskara undertook pilgrimages to numerous holy sites across North India, earning recognition and honor from various rulers. He lived for an extended period in Gaya, where he was especially esteemed by the ruler of Gauda. Due to the similarities of his name with that of his ancestor, people refer to him as Bhattagaya Mukti Bhaskara. When he returned to Karnataka, the emperor Bukka of Vijayanagara honored him with gifts of villages, land, wealth, and gold. Later, during the reign of King Mumudi Harihara, he revisited Vijayanagara. Deeply impressed by Bhattagaya Mukti Bhaskara's extraordinary scholarship, Mumudi Harihara conferred upon him the highest honor, including a planicue, parasol, chamara, fans, and other royal tributes, as a mark of respect and admiration. Thus, the fortunate and renowned Mahakavi Somnatha, the grandson of the illustrious Bhattagaya Mukti Bhaskara, authored the exceptional Champu epic, Sri Vyasa Yogi Charitram. Somnatha's maternal uncle was Ananta Bhatta, who composed the Champa Bharata Kavya in the Tundira region. Vallabhadeva, who wrote a commentary on Maghas Shishupala Vadha Kavya, emerged after Mahakavi Somnatha, specifically after 1540 CE. Therefore, Vallabhadeva is considered a later contemporary of Somnatha. In his commentaries, Vallabhadeva, while honoring poet, mentioned among the first poets and the greatest scholars are Vararuchi, Subandhu, Somnatha, Bhavabhuti, Kridananda, Kalidasa, Bilhana, Bharavi, Bana, and Mayura, whose fame shines like weapons of glory. Inspired by such poets, Magha composed the Shishupala Vada Kavya to attain similar renown. This serves as a significant evidence that both Magha and his commentator Vallabhadeva belong to a later period marked by Somnatha's influence. After Sri Vyasaraja Tirtharu returned from Udupi, Sri Narayana Yati, one of his disciples and the head of the monastery established by Sri Akshobha Tirtharu, wrote a formal letter to Mahakavi Somnatha. Somnatha, who resided in Govinda Tirthapura in the Tundira region, was instructed to travel to Vijayanagar, accompanied by a disciple, to meet Rajaguru Sri Vyasaraja Tirtharu and seek his blessings. Somnatha, having returned from a pilgrimage, arrived at Govinda Tirthapura Agrahara. He had many learned disciples and friends among the scholars there. While he was narrating the experience of his pilgrimage, he received a message from Sri Narayana Yati. Reading the letter, he was overwhelmed with joy, and regarding Sri Narayana Yati as his revered guru, read the letter aloud before the scholars. Words fail to express the boundless affection that the great ascetic Sri Narayana Muni has bestowed upon me, an ordinary disciple among his many students. Sri Vyasa Yogi Charitram, page 79. Expressing his amazement at the immense affection shown to him, Somnatha set out with his disciples and poet friends for Vijayanagara. Arriving there around 1535 CE, upon arrival, Somnatha first sought the audience of Sri Narayana Yati, along with his poet friends and disciples. He offered reverent salutations to Narayana Yati, who then led them to the grand entrance of Sri Vyasa Yogindra Vishwavavanamata. Narayana Yati informed Sri Vyasaraja Tirtharu of Somnatha's arrival, expressing his desire to seek the Guru's blessings. With Vyasaraja Tirtharu's approval, Narayana Yati affectionately introduced Somnatha. At that time, Sri Vyasaraja Tirtharu was seated on a grand throne. The Saraswati Pita was filled with an extraordinary assembly of scholars well versed in all scriptures, poets, musicians, artists, devout royal dignitaries, representatives of kingdoms from distant land, numerous ascetic disciples, and students, altogether numbering in the thousands. The majestic Vyasaraja Tirtharu, clothed in saffron clothes, radiated unparalleled brilliance and gravity, with golden earrings enhancing his serene demeanor. He blessed all the present with nectar of his compassionate gaze, while engaging in profound teachings. The mere sight of Sri Vyasaraja Tirtharu made Somnatha feel that his life has been fulfilled. Somnatha later described his first vision of Vyasa Tirtharu in his poetry. Surrounded by disciples of immeasurable spiritual experience, akin to sages like Sanaka, attended by learned scholars, revered as the very deities of the earth, and radiating splendor like Brahma, seated on the lotus throne, Vyasa Yogindra shone with unparalleled divinity. With great devotion and reverence, Somnatha bowed and stood before Sri Vyasa Yogi. Delighted, Vyasa Yogi asked, "Dear Somnatha Kavi, by the grace of Kamala Sahaya, that is Lord Vishnu, are you flourishing with uninterrupted auspiciousness?" Somnatha responded, "Revered Guru, with your gracious blessings upon this humble disciple, what else could there be but auspiciousness? By your grace, I am well. O Great One, my long-standing wish has finally borne fruits today. By the special merit of my past deeds, I feel fulfilled by having the sacred darshan of your divine lotus feet." Vyasaraja Tirtharu then said, "Great poet, welcome. I have heard from my dear disciple Narayana Yati about your scholarly eminence, and it has brought me to joy. Your arrival fills us with delight. Stay in our monastery for some time, and please gladden us with your knowledge, skill in poetic composition, and other talents." He then instructed the monastery official to provide all necessary comforts for Somnatha in his disciples and his friends. Afterwards, Sri Vyasaraja Tirtharu rose from his seat and left to perform the Mahasamsthana Puja. Every day, Somnatha attended the grand assembly of the Sanskrit University in the Vijayanagar, where thousands of scholars, poets, and literary enthusiasts gathered. He demonstrated his profound knowledge of various scriptures, presented his compositions in poetry, dharma, and literary theory, and captivated Vyasarajaru with his impromptu poetic skills. This earned him numerous rewards and the respect of all the scholars. During this time, Somnatha developed a desire to compose a great work dedicated to Sri Vyasaraja Yogendra. He gathered information from very learned religious figures and from Narayana Yati. Combined with his own observance and the extraordinary events he had witnessed in Vijayanagar, drawing from this he began crafting the Sri Vyasa Yogi Charitram, Champu epic, detailing Sri Vyasaraja Tirtharu's illustrious life, greatness, wisdom, devotion, renunciation, penance, victories in debates, glory, establishment of Dvaita philosophy, remarkable literary contributions, pilgrimages, teaching prowess, recognition by emperors, and his role as royal guru to 6 Vijayanagar emperors. Somnatha also highlighted Sri Vyasaraja Tirtharu's efforts in preserving and promoting the Kannada Empire, religion, culture, arts and scholars, along with establishing the Sanskrit University and providing unparalleled facilities for tens of thousands of students to study various scriptures and spread knowledge ceaselessly. Within 3 to 4 months of tireless work, Somnatha completed the epic and presented it to his revered Sri Narayana Yati, Overjoyed, Narayana Yati advised him to read the work before the assembly of scholars and offer it to the divine Sri Guru Vyasaraja Tirtharu. This suggestion filled Somnatha with immense happiness. When Achyutadevaraya, the Vijayanagar emperor, learnt of this through Narayana Yati, he was delighted and arranged for the epic to be read in the royal assembly of scholars in the presence of the royal guru. Sri Vyasaraja Tirtharu. Prompt arrangements were made for this grand occasion. By the emperor's command, Somnatha was overjoyed, considering it a great honor bestowed upon him in a royal assembly filled with scholars. His disciples, the musically gifted twin brothers Kambukanta and Kalakanta, recited this unparalleled masterpiece, Sri Vyasa Yogi Charitram, before Sri Vyasaraja Tirtharu, with his approving gaze signaling permission. The epic, a jewel of literature, was presented to the eager ears of the learned assembly over 6 jubilant days, with Kambukanta and Kalakanta reading it aloud in their melodious voice. The scholars, poets, and literary expressed their admiration with resounding cries of Sadhu, Sadhu, well done. Sri Vyasaraja Tirtharu, his eyes filled with compassion and joy, nodded in approval, while all the scholars chanted his praise and lauded Somnatha as a great poet. Somnatha then reverently offered his Champu epic at the lotus feet of Sri Vyasaraja Tirtharu and performed a full prostration. The joy Emperor Achyutadevaraya felt upon hearing of this event was beyond words. In the assembly, Vyasa Bhagavan praised Somnatha for creating a supreme work that contributed immensely to the treasury of Saraswati, the goddess of learning, declaring Somnath the foremost poet of his era. Sri Vyasaraja Tirtharu, as the Chancellor of the Vijayanagar Sanskrit University, honored him with a golden garland, bracelet, a pair of shawl, a silk garment, gold coins, a holy rice grains, blessing him in traditional manner, overwhelmed. The approximately 80-year-old Somnatha addressed the assembly. This great work was not composed for wealth, honor, or fame. I have heard that some envious minds have misunderstood the purpose of my composition and criticized it. For me, the greatest reward is a single nod of approval from Sri Vyasa Bhagavan. This is worth 100 golden Mount Merus to me. I consider myself fortunate to have had the opportunity to compose a story of such a divine and extraordinary personality. I pray that the blessing of my Guru remains with this humble disciple eternally. The assembly erupted in applause and cheered, celebrating Somnatha's devotion and brilliance. The next day, Emperor Achyutadevaraya, who naturally valued scholars and generously supported them, had Somnatha ceremonially brought in a palanquin. In the royal assembly, in the presence of Sri Vyasaraja Tirtharu, the emperor personally bestowed upon him pearl necklaces, jeweled medals, earrings, and a gem-studded crown, shawls, a silk turban, luxurious garments, and gold and silver coins, declaring him a treasure to the empire. Achyutadevaraya honored Somnatha by placing the Sri Vyasa Yogi the Charitram on his head and granted him land and other gifts as a mark of recognition. In these speeches, many scholars elaborated on the historical significance of Sri Vyasa Yogi Charitram and the unparalleled contribution of Sri Vyasaraja Tirtharu, including his immense scholarship, compassion, patronage of the learned, establishment of the Vijayanagar Sanskrit University, and support for thousands of students. They also extolled Somnatha's intellectual prowess, poetic talent, and skill in composition, as well as Sri Achyutadevaraya's generosity. They anonymously proclaimed, "This Sri Vyasa Yogi Charitram Champu epic will undoubtedly become a celebrated work in the literary world, bringing immortal fame to poet Somnatha." The entire assembly expressed its joy with thunderous applause and cheers. Deeply humbled by the recognition and honors bestowed upon him by the Kannada Empire of Vijayanagara, Somnatha bowed before Sri Vyasaraja Tirtharu, expressing a devotion and gratitude. After staying in Vijayanagar for another 4 days, receiving the blessings of Sri Vyasaraja Tirtharu and taking the sacred rice grains of prosperity, Somnatha departed for his hometown Govinda Tirthapura, Agrahara, accompanied by his disciples and friends. Hari Om. Om Sri Krishnarpanamastu.